Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Todd Smith, who's President and CEO of Level 5 Financial. Todd, welcome to the program.
Thanks, Mike. Pleasure to be here. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I'm excited to talk to you about what you do and find out about your entrepreneurial journey. So get us started with what your entrepreneurial journey has been like in financial services over your career.
Yeah, it's kind of a big question. I'll try to keep it short, but I've been in the industry since 1997, so that shows my age a little bit, really right out of college. So it's been an interesting voyage. I've done everything from work at a big box brokerage firm to kind of the corporate gig, and then kind of segued into the entrepreneurial side of things over time. When I came out of college, a lot of the brokerage business models back then, and I've heard they're similar now, was kind of hire a bunch of people, throw them against the wall and see who sticks, right?
Yeah.
And so got my licenses, was sent to Manhattan for their fancy sales training, and then sent back to our office to really do what? Sell products and sign people up. So after 18 months of doing that, I was one of the few recent college graduates still kind of standing, so to speak, out of 250. But I decided it wasn't for me and kind of moved on. And then did 6 years in the corporate world. The corporate world was enjoyable. It was a great kind of learning area. And I did everything from manage large 401k plans. I became a corporate trainer and trained other advisors. And then I finally kind of moved into the financial planning area, which really was what I call a financial plan factory. And we cranked out, 20 to 25 financial plans a month each. And I quickly burned out from that and decided, you know what? Corporate America really isn't for me. As much as I've learned, I want to be able to serve clients in my own way, my own capacity, and it's more specialized rather than kind of these vanilla plans. So I went out on my own and took the plunge, like a lot of people in this industry, and really kind of learned our way along without having any entrepreneurial background. So that was really my voyage. And so,
but yet you knew that there was a need for it because you were cranking out those plans every single month. You knew what the blocking and tackling and the foundation was. It's just that, oh, wow, I'm constricted and not able to do this, or I've got a great idea and I mentioned it to the bosses and they're like, no, stick with the plan. And so that way you came out of that corporate world going, you know what, if I could just do it my way, I can certainly find the people that would appreciate that. So to me, that is the best entrepreneurial, foray you can plan because it really is not selling or pushing. It's just going, hey, here's the market and here's what they need and I can provide it for them.
No, that's a great way to put it. It was really 2 points. It was really one. I always talk about in the corporate world, a lot of us have experience there. It's kind of like turning the proverbial ship, right? You could have the best ideas in the world, but it may never happen, right? So it's very constricting that from that regard if somebody is creative and has that kind of entrepreneurial spirit. And then number two is really for clients. It's really limiting in terms of that creativity, specifically in financial planning, of having that whole arsenal of potential tools out there. You're really confined to whether it's proprietary products or processes, et cetera, for that particular corporation. So it was really twofold for me that it made a lot of sense to kind of go into the independent space.
Yeah, for sure. I always am curious and love to ask the question about, hey, I see the name of your company is Level 5 Financial. What are the 5 levels?
Yeah, so I don't know if you're familiar with the number 5. It's pretty common in numerology. It's found in the Bible. It's found in Islam. So it has a lot of meanings. if you're bored someday, you can go down that rabbit hole on Google. But for me, level 5, really, its genesis started with Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are you familiar with that?
I am. Yeah, I went to graduate school, and that's like self-actualization and things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's depicted by a pyramid. At the bottom is really the first level is your physiological needs, kind of scarcity, just getting the basics. At the top, the fifth level really culminates with abundance and self-actualization. So to me, that was a perfect kind of analogy or depiction of what financial planning is. And our goal as financial planners is really to help clients get to that next level. So that was the genesis of level 5, but then it's kind of spread in a lot of different areas. I have 5 levels of leadership, for instance. We have a 5-step proprietary proactive planning process that we use with accounting firms and clients. So it started with Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and it's kind of spread from there.
Became the foundational. Yeah, neat. I love that. And
exactly.
Kind of is that like your true north. It's like that's where we're always going to focus on. We're going to have the 5 whatever, the 5 this, and it's foundational to like you really feel that with because of the hierarchy of needs. You have to make sure that your self-preservation. Well, what does that mean? Well, maybe we need to give advice that is not going to put people in harm's way financially. So it all ties together. So you mentioned working with CPAs. Give us a little bit of now what made you go from starting your firm to really wanting to serve this sector of the market?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think CPAs and accountants in general is an interesting industry. And being a financial planner, obviously, we're trained in taxes, and there's an overlay in everything we do. But I saw a real need and a really kind of hand-in-glove opportunity working with accountants because it seems that accountants already are the trusted advisor in this space, but they had the real opportunity to become that most relevant advisor. So it's been about 10 years now. I started working with CPAs as a way to help them become more comprehensive and holistic with their clients, because they have their own host of problems in their businesses. And so I saw a real way that was a way for me to kind of be creative and entrepreneurial is kind of create a trifecta. And the trifecta really is I see the problems with accounting, the accounting industry, and CPAs. I think I can help fix that, number one. Number two, I can help them serve their clients so their clients are served better. And then, of course, level 5 then is able to grow and make contribution to them in the community at large. So it was a real opportunity. And so over the last 10 years, I've just been kind of honing that process and kind of building that out. And that synergy just makes more and more sense as things evolve.
Well, I guess if you think about, in my mind, I'm envisioning like the spokes of a wheel, in the center, people tend to start with, I need help with, and you fill in the blank. Well, if a consumer, a person is getting help financially, whether it's tax or insurance or financial planning, they really don't want to go and develop and find all these relationships, from start to finish and go back to ground zero. So they want to have that one, hub and spoke kind of a feel and go, wow, if I can have these strategic alliances and feel like, everyone on this team is connected and they're on the same page. Well, if now, level 5 is working with accountants and CPAs to provide that kind of a feel, everyone wins, from the customer, the client, to the accountant, to you guys, and everyone's delivering on that promise.
Yeah, exactly. Well stated. It started, 10 years ago. It was really, how could we create a plug-and-play, so to speak, system that CPAs could use to offer wealth management through their company, but it's really evolved to be much broader than that. So we've now created what's called a virtual family office experience inside of a proactive planning process. So now clients can receive a number of possible solutions, both on the personal and the business side, if they are entrepreneurs themselves, that they could never get before, all in one place. And we teach, as part of this process, CPAs and accountants that referral model is really outdated. And really for two reasons. One, they don't have any control. And two, who really is the winner in that scenario? So, for example, if I were to refer you to somebody, I say, go talk to Joe down the street, I really have no control over the type of service you're receiving, right? So that puts the accountant in a very precarious situation. If you go to Joe and Joe does a wonderful job, who do you think the hero is? Probably Joe.
Yep.
So the accountant also isn't really reaping the benefits from that.
But if you pushed a button and said, hey, Joe, I've got Betty here in my office. Can you walk on in the office here? And he walks down 2 blocks and walks into the room and says, okay, let me brief you on what we're talking about. Well, yes, there might be 2 entities there, but now you're on the same page, and now they feel like you are the kind of the point person.
Correct. Yeah. So the accountant is always at the center of the planning team, but now they just have so many more capabilities than they would be able to on their own. So level 5 merges with them. There's a tremendous amount of synergy between our 2 collective firms. But now we have the best of breed specialists all over the country that's part of that virtual office. They're vetted. Yeah. They're some of the best names in their particular specialties. Now that is really pulled in-house, so it's an extension of the accounting firm. So entirely different than the referral model.
And I would venture to say that when you are working with some of your accountants and CPAs with this, it's kind of like that new take on taking their business to the next level, more so than just let's do it the traditional way. You refer me, I'll refer you. You're really bringing them into the 21st century. So talk a little bit about kind of what that could look like for them.
Yeah, so it's entirely different. I mean, the AICPA and lots of others in the industry have been talking about the need for CPAs to change. If you look at a conventional or traditional accounting firm, most of them are really strong in the compliance work. They look in the rearview mirror and they report what happened last year, and they do a fantastic job at that. But unfortunately, that's become commoditized through technology. They're experiencing fee compression. And frankly, clients want a lot more than that. They really want to know, what are the advanced strategies out there? What are the ways to mitigate tax? They're finding it unacceptable just to report that, here's the report, now it's time to pay my taxes. So they want so much more out of their accountants. And this process and the system that we've created inside the virtual family office allows them to do that. So we take them through, we shepherd them through what we call the MAP 5-step process, again, number 5, right? And that really, we kind of become their concierge, if you will, to identify priorities and really be forward-looking and identify the solutions and experts that would be fitting to those clients. So it looks entirely different than, a client shows up in an accountant's office to do their taxes, they get their taxes done, and then they see them next year. So
because in reality, that model right there, you can do that online. I know that that's a simplistic way to say it, but in reality, all you're being is an order taker. I need my taxes done. Here's what you did last year. Here's the updates. Click, 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 fill in the blanks, spit it out, pay this. Okay, see you next year. Well, if that's the case, and if the feeling is in the industry that the business clients and the clients are wanting more than that, well, if your CPA or accounting practice is only offering that, maybe those clients are finding this need being solved through a competitor, and you lose them. And now all of a sudden, maybe they're not even going to call you and say, oh, by the way, you've been great, but we're going to move on, because they don't do that. They just move on. And so this becomes a way you can not only amplify and get more clients, but provide such a high value to these clients and your current clients that it almost like puts a little moat around your business and preserves and saves relationships, I would suspect.
No, absolutely. And that's part of the trifecta I alluded to before, really is improving the quality of an accountant's firm. Right. Yes. So that they would be providing higher value. in turn charging higher fees and increasing their revenue, possibly having lower volume, so they could have fewer clients at a higher revenue. So that's a win for their life and work balance that I talked about that they don't really have. So there's a lot of benefits. And of course, if they ever want to exit, if they have a proactive, forward-looking business based on planning rather than tax preparation, the valuation of their accounting business will be so much higher if they decide to exit as well. So there's a lot of benefits there.
Yeah, that's an interesting point there too. It's kind of like you think about in the real estate market. Let's get a little curb appeal, and on paper your house looks great because here's the square footage and all that. That's normal. But wait, you've got marble countertops, and you put in a new whatever the case is. So when you look at a business and you see it more than just tax prep, now it's a more vibrant business. And I would even suspect this too. At some point, when the CPA or accountant is contacting or communicating with their clients, what are they talking about? But now maybe they can open up conversations with their clients throughout the year more than just, numbers and what is your write-offs and deductions and what does the numbers look like. But maybe they're now forward thinking with their clients going, hey, we've opened up an opportunity or a division where, and I think that is a really wonderful way that you're able to help them deepen relationships on the personal and professional level with their clients.
No, absolutely. And what I found is how much more enjoyable accountants find it. I have many accountant partners that they like doing the tax return occasionally. They like getting it right and doing quality work, but they find that their own self-actualization, and we're helping them go up to level 5, right, comes from those deeper, more enriched conversations that they're now able to have. And so they don't have to be the experts in everything, but now they have a full team of 40 or 50, vetted experts behind them to really dig into the details if needed. But they can have conversations about, business direction and vision, leadership skills, buy-sell agreements, key man coverage, you name it. A lot of different kind of conversations. So it really can radically change the culture of their business and enrich those relationships. Like you said, it's not a one and done. They're meeting with clients, 3-4 times a year, depending on the complexity, and that just changes it quite drastically, as I mentioned.
And I would venture to say that none of this concept or strategy is new, and that probably the thought has crossed the mind of a CPA or accounting firm to go, we should just start this division. So what does that mean? Well, we need to go out and hire the right people and then support and salaries and all, or align with someone like yourself, and then now that solves all of that for the firm, and you guys are working separately but yet on the same page. And I would venture to say, and without getting into the weeds of how things are structured, I would venture to say that it takes all of that work off of the accounting firm, because now you guys are working independently but for the same purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been honing this, as I said, for a good part of 10 years. And so, we've created all the components to make this as easy as possible for an accountant who sees the value in kind of evolving their business. So we have the systems, the processes, the technology, and the people all in place. So they don't have to hire people internally. They don't have to recreate the wheel, as you mentioned. So we try to remove those barriers so that people can move quickly, accountants can move quickly in a different direction and kind of get out of that trap that we see a lot of accountants are in. What I see is, clients, they're very successful at building the business, right? So they have 1,000, 2,000 clients, but it's too much of a volume game. And now the business is really running them rather than them running the business. And so this is kind of, there's work involved, so it's not entirely easy, but we've made it as easy as possible for them to kind of escape that trapping.
And maximize the hard work you put in over the decades. Because if you have a few hundred or 1,000 clients, like you mentioned, what percentage of those clients currently have the need for the services you're mentioning? probably a very large percentage, and maybe you have a wonderful relationship with those clients, and they would go, oh, well, of course, if you offer this and you've launched this division of your company, yeah, that's wonderful. And now that saves them from having to go out and get it from other places. So I think it's almost like it's revenue that's already being generated. You're not having to sell the clients on a new concept. They're already doing this. It's just that now you're bringing it up underneath your roof and without having to start a division of your company.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the conversation is simple. It's really, hello, Mr. and Mrs. Klein, and we've worked together for several years. Would you appreciate a little bit more proactive service? And so it's a natural elevation to a good relationship that you already have. And to your point also, if you have an accounting firm with 500 to 1,000 clients and they implement a system like this, they probably don't ever need to market again. Because there's enough revenue. Not wide. Exactly. Yeah.
To me, that is probably the biggest golden nugget that people need to realize is it takes, and this is indicative of all business. I've heard it for decades. It costs 5 to 7 times more money to get a new client than to maintain and grow the relationship with a current client. Well, in this example, 500 to 1,000 clients. Well, what's your plan for 3 to 5 years down the road, Mr. or Ms. Tax or CPA firm? Well, we need 1,500 clients. We need 2 because you need to grow. Well, why not, in essence, let the growth happen naturally from word of mouth and referrals? Wonderful. But what if you went deeper and made each client worth 20, 30, 40% more in revenue volume without you having to staff up and all of that and learn and compliance and CEs. And I'm sure that's a whole other realm is like, wow, if I've got to go learn all this stuff and be responsible and maybe, legally or whatever. Well, now what if we just align with, level 5? And so now I think that's just such a neat way. So if an accountant or CPA firm is listening to this going, you know what, a couple little nuggets there are interesting. Tell me more. What's like a final thought, Todd, that you would recommend? If you're feeling this or wondering this or would be interested in this, here's what you would do, and then what's the best way they can reach out and connect with you?
Yeah, I would say now is the time. You're beyond busy season. It's the summertime to think about business strategy. There's no better time than the present to make a shift like this. If you go to our website at www.level5financial.com, that's LEVEL, the number 5 financial.com. You can find more information in terms of how we work with accountants there. You can also email me directly at Todd at level5financial.com. So yeah, I think it, in a lot of ways, I've had accountants say, this is a no-brainer. Why would we not do this? And so, again, we've tried to make it as easy as possible to create this synergistic relationship and help accountants evolve, and that's exciting to us. So I'd be happy to have a conversation with anybody that's listening.
Super. Well, Todd, thank you so much for coming on. It was a real pleasure talking with you today.
You too, Mike. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.